Is Tennessee football too reckless with its money? Transfer portal, roster retention, high school recruiting. For every bad story out there, and there's one right now, there's more good stories. I'm going to tell you those today.
You are Locked On Vols, your daily podcast on the Tennessee Volunteers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Good Friday morning, everybody. Welcome into it. Locked On Vols. I am Eric Cain. We'll have Bubba Rosenbaum from the Jungle Tales podcast coming up later on in today's show, segment number 3, to get you set for Tennessee, East Carolina, the Chapel Hill Regional. First pitch, hours away, noon Eastern, so that's coming up in segment number 3, the Scout on East Carolina. More shade thrown at Josh Heupel and CBS top 25 FBS football coaches. He drops down 3 spots to number where, why, and is that fair in segment number 2. But our lead segment here today is Tennessee too risky. Is the strategy for roster management a little reckless with money? That's what we're going to talk about here on today's Locked On Vols. And it's a fair question because, again, it's money from a lot of businesses. It's money from a lot of, high-end booster type. They're not really called boosters anymore, but, people who give money to the university, they're now giving money to the NIL portion of trying to build a better team for football, for basketball, and all that, for the fans. I mean, so many of you watching and listening right now, some of your hard-earned money is going towards NIL efforts. So it's always a fair question, but it's just hot and cold. It depends on what time of the year you're asking. During the transfer portal cycle or this summer in recruiting, right? A couple of weeks ago when it came to a local standout at Halls High School, Gerald Chandler choosing Clemson over Tennessee. And it's, Tennessee's too cheap. Tennessee's too cheap, or Tennessee won't, doesn't want to get Brendan Sorsby. Tennessee's way too cheap. Sam Levitt. Don't want to get Sam Levitt. Way too cheap. It's every portal cycle. If you miss out on a guy, it's because Tennessee's too cheap. Well, when Tennessee goes out and gets a player, invests a lot of money into said player, and it doesn't work out, then it's just reckless decision-making, and Tennessee needs a better decision-maker out there whose job is out. That's pathetic. I mean, again, you can play both sides here. Fan short for fanatic, along with the T-shirts that everybody want to make for Josh Heupel that says day-to-day. This podcast needs to make a T-shirt, fan short for fanatic. All right, and then the what say you. We get a lot of money here with the everydayers here that get all these inside jokes. Fan short for fanatic. That's fair, and that happens. But what's going on with Chaz Coleman right now, and again, at the time of this recording, still a will he, won't he situation. We know that Tennessee started the final leg of the offseason workouts earlier this week, coming back, after Memorial Day, or Memorial Day weekend, I should say, and he was expected to be in town on Wednesday. He was not. Again, at the time of this recording, we'll just kind of play it by ear and see if that changes at all. But we're very much in a will he, won't he. And even if he does show, like we talked about in yesterday's program, is he here next week? Is he here the week after that? Is he stacking those days? So, but we're very much in the middle of one right now. And Chaz Coleman was again the crown jewel of the transfer portal class, and Tennessee invested a lot of money into him. All right. I don't talk money specifics on this show. I just don't. That's not, unless it's out there publicly and all that. I don't really get into that, number one, because it's not necessarily my ballpark to begin with. And that's just kind of not where we are on this show, while I'm leading it, at least, unless it's just really out there in public knowledge. But, there was a heavily invested resource into that being Chaz Coleman. And so far, that's not paid off. Now, again, he can return and get put in the work and go on and be a great player for Tennessee. The story's not done, okay, at least at the time of this recording, but very much in limbo right now. So people are saying Tennessee is reckless with its money. Tennessee doesn't vet its portal targets correctly, and Tennessee is an issue in that. Again, that can be said. Fans say that about every player that doesn't pan out, both high school, transfer portal. We're going to give a lot of examples here in a moment. But number one, first and foremost, in the defense of Josh Heupel, at least, I mean, goodness gracious, you have Jim Knowles and you have Andrew Jackson on campus that coached Chaz Coleman last year. Coached him firsthand. And obviously those two guys signed off on Tennessee's pursuit of Chaz Coleman in the transfer portal. So by and large, I mean, you had two coaches that signed off that kind of gave their blessing, essentially, that said, hey, yeah, let's bring this guy here. But anyway, I mean, right now it's just kind of not worked out a little bit. So it got me thinking, what big-time money players did not pan out at Tennessee, and two come to mind, and they're very, very recent. Number one, obviously, is Nico Iamaleava. Nico was kind of the poster child for NIL there for a little bit. Tennessee got his commitment when he was a junior in high school, spring semester in the month of March, junior in high school, and, rumored to have big money, and it was big money. Now, the market had reset several times over his Tennessee career when he was here for 2 years and working on a third year. And so he was certainly not the highest paid quarterback in college football when he was here at Tennessee. But because of the market resetting and all that, and I'm sure that he got some renegotiated deals and all that. But anyway, he left. But he was a high-profile type quarterback and was kind of the poster child for NIL. Tennessee put a lot of money into that. It didn't work out. Boo Carter, Tennessee went and got from the high school ranks. Bradley Central down there in Chattanooga, and an in-state guy, and was a real impact player for Tennessee as a true freshman, was supposed to take a step forward as a sophomore. Obviously, that did not pan out. He renegotiated a deal, got a big raise after his freshman season, was paid a whole lot of money, then just didn't show up in the month of July, and then it was a train wreck all last year. So those two really didn't pan out, okay? On a lesser extent, if you will, well, not necessarily a lesser extent, Lance Hurd was a huge transfer portal addition that Tennessee put a lot of money and a lot of resources in. Huge. Now, I think Tennessee made the correct decision this last offseason. Going back to the table, player X and agents say, I think I'm valued at this. Or Tennessee says, we think you're valued at this is where we value you. Player X and agent come to the table and say, well, we think we're valued here. And then you just shake hands and say best of luck. And that's essentially what happened. Tennessee was not willing to meet the asking price for Lance Hurd. And Lance Hurd is now at Kentucky. Now, did Kentucky meet that asking price? I have no clue. What we know a lot of times is grass is not always greener on the other side, okay? But Lance Hurd is now at Kentucky. Tennessee paid him a lot of money to play football here for 2 years. Tennessee paid a decent amount of money for Gerald Mincey, once upon a time for Florida, to come in and play tackle, for Tennessee. Tennessee's had a lot of rotation at the offensive tackles. John Campbell as well is in this category. Tennessee paid John Campbell a whole lot of money to come over from Miami and gave him a raise after his first year. And John Campbell was not the best player here. Gerald Mincey didn't finish his career here. He went to Kentucky. Lance Hurd didn't finish his career here, went to Kentucky. Some of those are different situations. Again, sometimes it's shake hands and say best of luck. And I think the correct decision was made in some of those regards. But those are some of the bigger ones. I'm sure I'm missing some that kind of came to mind to me. Now, you look at Tennessee in the transfer portal the last couple of cycles, and I'm not necessarily, we can peruse through this last cycle from this past winter. It's got a lot of names in there again. Tennessee went to scholarship, so you had to get a whole lot of more transfer portal guys from 85 to 105. Of course, Tennessee had a lot of departures as well. Just going down the list here, obviously Chaz Coleman was paid a lot of money to come here. I would assume that TJ Metcalf, was compensated well to come here, and I think that one's going to be good. Again, a lot of these guys are paid to come here. Don't get me wrong. I don't know how much. Go back and look at last year's cycle, transfer portal cycle. Again, we're looking at transfers here. Colton Hood, I don't know how much money he was making, but Tennessee certainly was in a position where they needed a cornerback. And so Colton Hood came to Tennessee, and, well, that one turned out pretty well. All right. Joey Aguilar was paid a pretty penny to come here to Tennessee, but essentially Tennessee getting him off the waiver wire in May, if you will, and that one turned out very well for Tennessee. Okay, you had to pay for a quarterback. It's a position of premium, and based on the position Nico left you in, you weren't paying him as much as Nico, and you got so much more production than you ever got from Nico Iamaleava in one season with Joey Aguilar at quarterback. That one turned out pretty well. Sam Pendleton's a 2-year starter. Is he an all-SEC player? No, but he's a starter for you. Wendell Moy is going to turn into being a really good player for you as well. We'll go back to 2024 cycle. Jackson Boyd turned out pretty well. Lance Hurd was actually in this cycle. We've already talked about him. Jalen McMurray was a starter. Miles Kitselman was a starter. Chris Brazzell, you paid money to get Chris Brazzell, and boy, did it pay out his second year in the system. Tremont McCoy invested some money to bring him in here, and we can debate, like, overall, was it a success? 2024 college football playoff team, he was an All-American, All-SEC. I understand there's some frustrations with the injury and all that this past year. I get it. But that one was very good for you in 2024. Jacoby Thomas, another example, right? Tennessee says, hey, we'd like to have you back. We value you at this. Jacoby Thomas says, well, I think I can make more money on the market. Okay, best of luck. And turned out Jacoby Thomas went on, and that was a great decision for Jacoby Thomas. Tennessee, not so much, but it was a great decision for Jacoby Thomas. Holden stays. Tennessee paid a nice penny to get him here at campus, but they weren't going to give him a raise or give him as much money to stay because they had Ethan Davis coming in the wings, and they had Miles Kitselman that really stepped up. So I think that one was a good decision. Okay, continue to look at the 2023 cycle. Again, there's some starters. John Campbell was in this cycle. We talked about him. Gabe Judy Lawley. I don't know how much money a lot of these guys are making. Omar Norman Lott. Dante Thornton, second year in the system. Overall, probably didn't work out to where anybody would have liked, but he played pretty well his second year. Keenan Peely, too injury prone, unfortunately. McAllen Castles turned out to be a pretty good player for you. And then 2022, Brew McCoy. That one worked out very well, right? Worked out very well. Wesley Walker ended up not finishing his career at Tennessee, but played a lot of football. Gerald Mincy was in the cycle as well. So, again, we can go through the list here, transfer portal cycle after transfer portal cycle, and some of the players that Tennessee invested a lot of money in turned out to be the right call. Sometimes Tennessee wouldn't pay what the retention rate was for said player, and that player left. And most of the time, it's turned out to be okay for Tennessee. Jacoby Thomas, probably not. We'll see about Lance Hurd. Okay, Nico Iamaleava, Boo Carter, you took them out of high school. Tennessee fans were fired up. They played some. Boo Carter played some real good football for Tennessee. Nico had some moments for Tennessee. It didn't work out. So I guess what I'm trying to say is, shoulda, coulda, woulda. When you miss out on a kid, you're too cheap. When you get a guy and you heavily resource the funds to bring a player to you, and it's not just all about the money. I know fans just want to believe that it's all about the money all the time. It's not all about the money, but I mean, we're playing football here in 2026. Money's a big part of it, okay? And a lot of times you pay money to bring a kid here and it works out, or it doesn't, or we'll see what happens. But you're thrilled. But whenever it doesn't work out, if it doesn't work out, it's reckless. It's reckless spending and all that. So again, I think that for every negative player or situation like we're kind of dealing with right now, and again, the story's not completed at the time of this recording, talking about Chaz Coleman here, you can point to a success story in the transfer portal or high school recruiting. David Sanders as well is a big one, and it's continuing to work out right now. You can point to a positive as well. So again, these debates and these things happen on rosters all across the country. It's frustrating kind of dealing with a similar away from the team situation, not the same situation with Boo Carter and Chaz Coleman, but a similar, well, they're not with the team right now, what's going on situation. That's very frustrating, and we'll kind of see what's where they are, coming up here in the next week or so, at least for Chaz Coleman. Hey, when we come back, where should Josh Heupel be ranked in the top 25 head coaching rankings for CBS Sports among FBS head coaches? He dropped 3 spots down to where, and is that fair? That's coming up next. We continue on here. This is your Friday morning Locked On Vols. The NHL playoffs are here, where every shift matters, every moment is intense, and the pressure is at its highest. And just like performance matters on the ice, it matters off the ice as well. That's where Rougiet comes in. Rougiet offers treatments designed to help you get ready and stay ready when it matters the most. All right, those are very important moments there. Their top option, Rougiet Ready, combines clinically proven ingredients in a simple mint that dissolves under your tongue. It works fast, often in about 15 minutes or so, and it can last up to 36 hours. And they also offer Go Long, designed to help with both performance and control. It's all about confidence and feeling like yourself again, and Rougiet Ready can help you get there if you have the need. Head on over to Rougiet.com/LockedOnNHL to get 50% off your ED treatment. That's Rougiet, RUGIET.com/LockedOnNHL for 15% off. Rougiet, performance medicine for men. Rougiet, they can help you when the moment matters the most. Again, it can last up to 36 hours. Check it all out today. Get that incredible deal at Rougiet.com. Get your Tennessee fix completely ad-free by joining the Everydayer Club today. Start your 7-day free trial right now. Get closer to your team without the interruptions. Click on the link in the show notes or go to LockedOnVols.supercast.com to claim your free trial today. joining the Everydayer Club here with Locked On Vols. All right, again, list season, off-season, talking points and all that. That's kind of where we are entering the final phase of the off-season. These are the summer months, end of May, heading into the June coming up, and really just we are knocking on the door to the SEC Media Days and knocking on the door to the start of fall camp. CBS Sports ranked the top 25 Power 4 college football coaches, so it's Power 4, excuse me, not Division 1, Power 4 college football coaches entering the 2026 season. And it always cracks me up how coaches who are ranked high are getting the benefit of the doubt on what they've done in the past. And I hear you, some of that has to matter, but where have you been the last couple of years is what I want to know. And even, the CBS article here even admits it, I can't believe this guy's ranked this high, because it's a panel, right? There's like 7 of them that vote on it. And it's like, can't believe this coach is so high, getting a whole lot of past love for what he did at previous stops, a decade ago, and ranked higher than Josh Heupel. But Josh Heupel comes in here at number 19 on the list of Power 4 head coaches. All right, so he's in the top 25. There are, 65, 66, somewhere around there, Power 4 head coaches, I believe. Josh Heupel coming in at number 19. That's solid. He was ranked number 16 last year. He's been ranked as high as number 15 in this ranking in the past, and he's been ranked as low as 26th. If I'm reading this and interpreting this correctly. Anyway, this is what the article says about Josh Heupel, who they ranked at number 19. It's not a strong argument, but an argument can be made that Heupel's 8-5 mark in 2025 was more impressive than his 10-3 mark in a playoff berth in 2024. I would not make that argument, but I guess some do. Given the losses the Vols had, both naturally, draft departures, injuries, or otherwise, and they put in parentheses, the Nico Iamaleava saga, there was potential to see them bottom out in 2025. It didn't happen, and Heupel deserves plenty of credit for that. I agree with that last part. I mean, so many people were writing Tennessee off and saying Tennessee's done. Kind of like Tennessee right now, no quarterback. But don't worry. Don't mind the fact that Tennessee's returning potentially 5 starters on the offensive line, a 1,000-yard rusher, 2 wide receivers who have over 800 yards receiving last year. I mean, don't mind any of that, right? Those are just facts that get in the way, okay? But people are writing Tennessee off this year in the offense because there's not an experienced quarterback there. Well, last year, people were burying Tennessee, leaving Tennessee behind because Nico left and Tennessee was doomed. Well, Joey Aguilar, again, deserves a whole lot of credit for that not being the case. The offense was better than it had been since 2022 with Joey Aguilar, who did not compete in spring practice, was here for a cup of coffee, went and won the job in fall camp, and he was off to the races. Did Joey Aguilar have some faults? Absolutely. Threw too many picks towards the end of the season. He was dealing with something big time with a benign tumor, right? In his right arm. So he even talked about how it was painful to throw towards the end of the season. But overall, you knew what you were getting in Joey Aguilar when he got to Tennessee, a guy that was a little bit of a Brett Favre, right? Gunslinger mentality, turnovers are up, but he's going to get you a lot of yards, a lot of touchdowns, and he did just that. And, I mean, he led the SEC in passing in the regular season. So I think that worked out pretty well. Joey Aguilar deserves a lot of credit, but so does Josh Heupel. And in a twist of fate, it was like, okay, well, the defense can kind of carry you. The defense was so good the year before. Now, I don't think myself or anybody else included thought that Boo Carter was going to be an absolute train wreck and was essentially nobody you can count on this year, right? I don't think anybody thought Jamal McCoy was going to miss the entire season. Nobody thought that Ricky Gibson, your other starting cornerback, was going to get hurt 18 plays into the season in the season opener. So you were really dealt a tough hand. But the run defense was awful. The pass defense was atrocious. The tackling was abysmal. I mean, it was all bad. It was all bad. So the defense, a massive, massive step back, and that's the reason for the 8-5 record. Well, in the offense was humming. Offense, one of the best offensive units in the SEC. It was the defense. So, again, Josh Heupel slides back 3 spots in this rankings, and from a national perspective, I get it. I'm in here in the weeds. I'm on a day-to-day ground level. I understand what's going on with Tennessee, much better than, a lot of other people. Me and my fellow, beat reporters and beat writers here covering Tennessee. I mean, essentially, we know more and we know better than any national reporter on the Tennessee Volunteers. That's not gloating. That's not boasting. That's just facts, because it's literally our job to cover one team where other in the media at a regional or a national level have to cover more teams. So obviously we're going to know more about this one team that we cover, right? And so like but I get it. Because if you're looking at it from the outside looking in, it's like, oh, well, Tennessee took a big step back last year. Went from 10-3 in the playoff to 8-5, 8-4 regular season. And so you got to dock Josh Heupel some of that. But just like this article points out, they could have bought him out. But they didn't. Who's in front of Josh Heupel? Willie Fritz, don't get it. Don't get it. Willie Fritz, a 10-win season last year at Houston. Okay, you were 4-8 the year before. Josh Heupel has never. When the world was falling all around him, when he took the job at Tennessee in January of 2021, with the Jeremy Pruitts, with the NCAA penalties coming, with the recruiting that was just working against you everywhere you turn, the roster you inherited, Josh Heupel has never had a losing season here at Tennessee. 7-6, 11-2, 9-4, 10-3. 8-5. Josh Heupel's never had a losing season here at Tennessee. Okay, so Willie Fritz, the fact that you were 4-8 just 2 years ago, and you're ahead of Josh Heupel, give me a break. I don't think that. Jumping 23 spots from number 41, get out of here. Lincoln Riley is a great example. Lincoln Riley, USC is awful. USC is not a contender, and Lincoln Riley continues to get the benefit of the doubt because of who he was at Oklahoma. Get out of here. Lincoln Riley has no business being ranked ahead of Josh Heupel right now. Matt Campbell's interesting. Everybody loves Matt Campbell. Will he be viewed differently now at Penn State? Probably, right? Everybody loves Matt Campbell in the other underdog story. You're in the big boys now in the Big Ten with Penn State, a perennial power. Rhett Lashley at SMU's at 15th. I get that. Mike Elko at 14th. I get that. That's deserving. James Franklin at 13th. I mean, the dude was in the semifinals 2 years ago at Penn State. Obviously, the expectations are large there because they fired him 4 games later. James Franklin at Virginia Tech now comes in at 13. BYU's coach comes in there at number 12. Dabo comes in here at number 11. Interesting. I mean, Clemson was a playoff team 2 years ago when Tennessee made the playoffs. Dabo's got a couple natties to boast. Maybe not as high as 11, but I could see him being ahead of Josh Heupel. I get that one. Kyle Whittingham, number 10. Everybody loves Kyle Whittingham. He will be viewed differently now at Michigan. Lane Kiffin at 9. Kalen DeBoer at 8. Mario Cristobal at 7. Steve Sarkisian at 6. Dan Lanning at 5. Marcus Freeman, very much overranked at 4. Ryan Day at 3. Kirby Smart at 2. And Kurt Signetti, because, of course, is there at number 1. Those right behind Josh Heupel. Kirk Ferentz, which, great guy. Way overrated. Great guy. Again, you're never going to take that next step at Iowa. And again, he's in the twilight of his career, but awesome coach, great for the game of football, but a bit overrated simply because that next step's never really been taken at Iowa. Joey McGuire at Texas Tech, 21. Kenny Dillingham, 22, Arizona State. Eli Drinkwitz. Hey, I'm not an Eli fan, but he deserves some credit what he's done at Missouri. Comes in there at number 23. Jeff Brom at 24. Brett Bielema, Illinois, comes in there at number 25. Is Josh Heupel ranked too high, too low, or just about right? I understand why they dropped him, but I still think he's underrated. I still think shade's being thrown at Josh Heupel, especially this offseason due to not really having an experienced quarterback. All right, when we come back, Bubba Rosenbaum from the Pirate Tales podcast, Jungle Tales podcast. Jungle Tales podcast is going to join us, get you set for Tennessee, East Carolina, coming up today, noon Eastern, to kick off regional play in Chapel Hill. All that and more is coming up next, right here on Locked On Vols. Hey, I want to welcome on the show, great guest, Bubba Rosenbaum from the Jungle Tales podcast, covering East Carolina baseball. You know, it's as good as anybody. And if you guys want even more prep leading into Friday's game, noon Eastern time, go check out the Jungle Tales podcast. Bubba, appreciate the time, man. Let's jump right down into it. What's the fan base for East Carolina feeling about the Carolina Regional, the Chapel Hill Regional, and the matchup with Tennessee on Friday?
I think the initial reaction as you look at this Chapel Hill Regional is just how tough of a draw it is for everyone. My initial thoughts were, hey, number 5, North Carolina. Some thought the Tar Heels may be even the number 4 national seed. And then now you have obviously a very good Tennessee program and team this year specifically. And then East Carolina, while the Pirates don't have one of their better teams, still a formidable foe. And the Tar Heels certainly know that from earlier in the year where the Pirates took one from UNC at the DBAP, and then tied another. And so I think, yeah, folks are excited to get out to Boschmer Stadium and get things going.
Yeah, it should be a really good weekend. Really good baseball. Again, my initial thoughts were, man, if I'm Carolina, it's like, okay, now we're seeding the top two seeds now, the two seeds 17 through 32. I don't know how accurate those seedings are, and then it's all about region because the NCAA is fitting the bill. And so if you're the number 5 overall seed, I mean, there's metrics out there saying this is the second toughest regional out there. This is just the challenge for like Tennessee specifically. If Tennessee were to go to Omaha, it would have the toughest path of any team in the country, and that, of course, starts in the Chapel Hill Regional. So it's going to be tough. It's going to be fun baseball. Bubba, I want to get your thoughts on this, man. ECU is no stranger to the NCAA tournament, no stranger to NCAA regional play. Do you think that experience is going to play a factor in this weekend?
I certainly think it does. Last year, the Pirates had to win the conference tournament down in Clearwater to advance to the Conway Regional. Had a nice showing there at Coastal Carolina. A couple victories over the Florida Gators, which I'm sure some of the Vol fans may have enjoyed.
Yeah, we don't mind.
And then you had a game against Coastal Carolina. Yeah, the score was lopsided. I think it ended up something like 18-7, but it was very competitive in the 7th or 8th inning. And then you lost in Game 6 of that regional, 1-0. Just a heartbreaker there. And of course, they went on to play for the national championship against LSU. So yeah, as you look at East Carolina, and that this is not one of our better clubs historically, but all things considered, how many injuries the Pirates had on the pitching side of things, Cliff Godwin and this coaching staff, I think, have really managed things very well and squeezed everything that they can out of this ECU team.
Look at the pitching, Bubba, and Ethan Norby's the stud, the ace. He had 2 relief appearances last weekend during the conference tournament. It feels like, early reports in the week that he probably won't go Friday, and that would make a whole lot of sense again because he threw 5 innings out of the bullpen on Sunday to win that conference tournament championship. So it looks like it'll be Ryan Towers, and you look at Ryan Towers, he actually has better numbers, albeit not as many strikeouts. Norby has an incredible amount of strikeouts, 120-28. Ryan Towers, not a strikeout pitcher with 42 Ks in 53 innings and a third, but what should scare a lineup about facing Towers? What does Towers do well if he is indeed, which it feels like he is, going to be the starting pitcher against Tennessee?
Yeah, Ryan Towers, he's a Loyola Marymount transfer, 2nd year in the program. However, in 2025, he did not throw a pitch, had the internal brace for the Tommy John procedure. Fortunately, after some rough outings to start the year, has just gotten better and better as the year has gone on, has really been good these last 5 to 6 weeks. And he's actually been pitching on Friday night for the Pirates as opposed to Ethan Norby. To begin the year, you had Gavin Van Kippen in that Friday role. Unfortunately, he went down with TJ, and then Ryan Towers kind of later on as things developed, and Cliff Godwin and Austin Knight, the pitching coach, managed things and kind of fit the pieces. And this is where things ended up. And Ryan Towers, like you mentioned, he's not a high strikeout guy like Ethan Norby, but he really knows how to pitch. He's the son of a MLB pitcher. And that really shows. I think he has 42 Ks and 53 and a third, but opponents are hitting just 219 against him. So he just really knows how to pitch. He's going to top out there about 89 or 90 miles per hour. And as far as to answer your question directly there, as far as what should scare Vols fans, I would say it's clearly not the velocity or anything like that. It would just be a lot of times when you're used to facing so much velo, when you get kind of a soft tossing lefty, you never know how things may turn out, and it can cause some issues.
Yeah, Tennessee certainly struggled with soft tossing lefties. I'm not going to say Towers is this, but in the past, Tennessee has struggled with junk lefties, and so it'll be quite the change up there. If it's Towers, which again we believe it's going to be at the time of this recording, who is that first arm out of the bullpen? Is there a scenario where Norby would come in and finish the game, or in a regional you got to go out there and try to get the 2-0 as quick as you can? But would they want to save Norby for the Saturday game? Would he pitch after him, or who would be in the bullpen after Towers?
East Carolina began the season with some of the most pitching depth in school history, and that's certainly been tested. I mentioned the loss of Gavin Van Kempen. And you also had a stud freshman arm, Colby Weber, and then Sean Jenkins, who was the Pirates' top bullpen arm. Those guys are on the shelf and will not be seen again until 2027, if at all. So, in this scenario, you could very well see Ethan Norby. Tennessee has a lot of left-handed bats. The Pirates essentially have no left-handed arms out of the pen if they don't use Norby. You also could have Luke Payne as an option, who's a familiar name to Tennessee fans, spent 2 years there in the orange and white. And as a Tennessee native, he's had a solid season. He's had an up and down season, but he's certainly shown glimpses of what he's capable of and pitched very well at times. Command has just eluded him. So, but I think Ethan Norby and then also a guy named Joseph Webb has excellent stuff. I think he's pitched around 60 innings and only allowed 43 hits and also a very high strikeout number of maybe 75 or 80. So some of the best stuff on the team. So my guess would be Norby or Webb would be the guy that the Pirates will go to. And obviously a lot's going to depend on the score, because if it's a situation where Tennessee were to be up, East Carolina is going to conserve pitching considering its lack of pitching depth. And if it's a situation where you have a tight game, I would expect it to be one of those two guys.
Yeah, that would make a whole lot of sense. You go all out to get win number one, but if the game is already done, then you got to say for that elimination game on Saturday. That's for both teams. Luke Payne, former Tennessee Volunteers, you mentioned 30 innings on the year. He's got 28 strikeouts. He's given up 24 hits, and he's got a 3-1 record on the season, that being Luke Payne. Last thing we'll look at here is the offense. It feels like an offense that not a whole lot of power, more contact. They run pretty well. Don't strike out an awful lot. They have a lot of walks. It feels like just a very well-rounded offensive team that, again, is going to hit you more bases to bases or station to station than over the fence.
That's certainly an accurate assessment. You look at the Pirates, they're hitting just shy of 300, 297 team batting average, just 56 home runs. They do have 107 doubles, which is up, I think, about 15 doubles from a season ago. But with East Carolina, it's certainly a team offensive approach. Most Cliff Godwin teams are going to have 75 to 80 home runs this year. The Pirates did not get the power they expected from guys like Austin Irby and Colby Wallace. Seawall has had an excellent year, 315, but just a single home run after hitting 10 a season ago. And then Austin Irby, 12 last year, and was red hot in the conference tournament, and then also down in that Conway Regional, which certainly drew some interest from SEC and ACC programs. Irby is just 237 with 5 bombs, a bit of a sophomore slump for him as he's trying to fight that urge to be a straight pull hitter and hit the ball well to all fields. So there you had guys last year that produced 22 home runs, this year just 6. And then you had a guy like Braxton Trammell that has been injured for the duration of the season, that was very good a season ago before he got injured, and he could have probably produced 10-plus bombs.
That is the scout on East Carolina, the Pirates. If you want a more in-depth look at ECU before Tennessee squares off against the Pirates on Friday at noon Eastern, go check out the Jungle Tales podcast. Bubba Rosenbaum and co-hosts, they do a great job covering the ECU baseball program. Bubba, thanks so much, man. Really appreciate the time, and we'll see you at the ballpark, all right?
Yeah, thank you so much for having me on at Jungle Tales Pod on X and Instagram, and then also on YouTube.
Big thanks to Bubba Rosenbaum for stopping by the show and giving us the scout on the Pirates of East Carolina. Tennessee and ECU getting going at noon Eastern to kick off the Chapel Hill Regional. I'll be around this week. I'll be in Chapel Hill this weekend covering that, but hopefully I'll be around if any news hits or whatever, I'll have some downtime in the hotel. Maybe I can, get on here and record some podcasts over the weekend. So maybe you have that to look forward to. Guys, can't thank you enough for being here, choosing us to start your morning, during your lunch break, maybe on your run in the afternoon. Listen to us right here on Locked On Vols. Really, really do appreciate that. We're a part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it is your team every single day, the #1 sports podcasting network. And if you never miss an episode, the Everydayer Club is built for you. Get Locked On Vols ad-free, plus members-only Discord access and more. Head on over to lockedonvols.supercast.com to join the club. today. And for those watching us on YouTube, we're going to send you to the First 24/7 National Locked On Podcast Network YouTube channel. If you're listening to us right now, make that second listen Locked On SEC with Chris Gordy. He's doing a lot of great work this week on the SEC spring meetings. All right. How does Tennessee baseball do in the Chapel Hill Regional? We will find out. What's the latest with Chaz Coleman first and next week? We will find out. All that more is coming up over the weekend and on Monday morning right here on Locked On Vols. Have a safe and enjoyable weekend, everybody. This is Locked On Vols.